curious about your music career.
Okay.
So you've maintained maybe reignited your music career
Mm-hmm.
post-service.
Yep.
How has your military service affected that?
Well, I mean, it taught me how to run a band in ways that I didn't expect. So in the Army band, there is such a structure to how every gig is organized. The ops teams, that they'll plan out, transportation, what time do you have to get there, how is it going to run, and there's a degree of organization that happened there that I've carried over into my subsequent music career, both in church and as an independent musician. That has to do with attention to detail and scheduling, and always making sure that your set list is completely prepared, and the expectation of preparedness for the other musicians. And so what I've come to realize is that even on a subconscious level, every time I would plan a gig, I would go through the same kind of a military process. I would organize it in the same way. And one of the comments I've gotten from many of the musicians I work with is that they're surprised at how well organized things are. Which I think is funny, because I still think I'm a disorganized mess. But apparently it's better than what they get from most people, so we'll go with it. It's also taught me how to be a better performer. Because everything in the military bands was geared around creating a performance experience that people would enjoy. It has removed the stigma that a lot of musicians have for cover songs. A lot of bands turn their nose up at doing other people's music, but that was my entire career for 4 years, was doing cover songs. And I realized the value of it and that people loved it. And sometimes it's okay to just sing someone else's song. It's given me a degree of flexibility and confidence, and the ability to learn things fast, which has been a struggle for some of the people I work with. But when we were going through the School of Music and we had to do our auditions, there was an audition. So we auditioned before you join the Army, you audition in the first week that you're at the School of Music, halfway through, and then to graduate. And it was all graded on a 4-point scale, and you had to hit certain benchmarks in order to pass. Well, 50% of that audition was sight reading. So you do your prepared solo, and you work your butt off for weeks on a prepared solo that only counted 40% of your audition. 10% was scales and stuff, but half of it was sight reading. Just they plop music down in front of you, and you just have to read it. And for better or for worse, I think I still have this attitude of it should be easy to just learn a new song. And for me, it is easy to learn a new song. That's a skill I've adapted, I've learned. So I don't think twice about people coming up with new requests. Like, okay, if I have the music, I can do it. My first gig in the Army band, I got was my first week in Germany, and I hadn't touched a saxophone for a few weeks. I hadn't had one assigned to me, and I didn't own one. And the very first gig I did in the Army band was a televised gig where I was mic'd, and I had never seen any of the music before. They just put it in front of me. And there was some custom arrangement stuff that no one wrote down or no one told you about, some custom edits where you're cutting from here to over here. And so someone would just lean over to me and say, oh yeah, here to here. That's all we got. So I learned to operate under pressure. I learned to learn fast. I learned to fake it when I didn't know. And I learned to adapt constantly. Oh, there's no piano player. We need a piano player for this gig. Doug, you play piano, right? Yeah, sure. It's just what you did.